everyone. Greetings. It's been a little while. I've been on vacation. This is Naomi Wolf, and I'm with Outspoken and Daily Clout, and I'm going to read you my latest essay today on my Substack, which is called Outspoken. And you can also find it on our website, Daily Clout. So this is an essay called California Dreaming. And it is about my vacation, essentially my moment away, heading back home. So I'm just going to make sure that everyone can see and hear me, and I'm going to go ahead and start reading. California Dreaming. And the subtitle is A Moment's Respite from the War. Thank you for your patience, dear friends. I took a desperately needed break. I was sick to death, like existentially sick, soul sick, from 4 years of standing at the abyss of what at times seems like the devil's own canyon, peering into its depths and describing its emerging florid horrors flooding by without ceasing. My life as a reporter and cultural critic and human since 2021 often feels as if I am forced to share a mantra such as this in various iterations, week by week, day by day. And of course, I have all the links here. mRNA, sudden death, mRNA, sudden death, DNA alterations, miscarriages, population collapse, strokes, heart attacks, brain damage, poisoned breast milk, malformed babies, digital ID rollout, apps in training our kids' brains, EMF from all directions, radiating us with no escape. Microwaved clouds, weather warfare, strange S in the skies, sperm collapse via pesticides, human DNA in the food supply. The beef site reports that there is human DNA in 2% of meat samples and even in 2/3 of, quote, vegetarian alternatives to meat. Family collapse. Netflix shows depicting religious leaders as fanatical abusers. Netflix shows depicting men as pernicious traitors or rock-like cretins, and women as being emotionally fulfilled only by friendships with their best girlfriends and via stylish clothing and high-end sex toys. Ever-changing coinages such as bio-moms, meaning what we used to call moms, and people with ovaries. Oh, I'm so sorry. And people with ovaries. A weeping woman beaten to a pulp by a huge Algerian person with a male chromosome in a boxing ring. People arrested for posting tweets in the UK, and the BBC's disinformation correspondent wondering, will it change anything? A new bill allowing for full-term baby abortions rushed through in the UK. Suicide pods rolled out with fanfare in the UK by an inventor who had previously been arrested for using the same device in Switzerland. MAID, medically assisted death. I'm not sure what the acronym is for, actually. MAID in Canada, medical assistance in dying. That's cute. MAID in Canada soliciting assisted suicides and creating workbooks about their loved ones' assisted suicides for children. A national blind eye turned to the organized rape of children, euphemistically termed grooming gangs in the UK. A court ruling that clears a hospital in Wisconsin of medically murdering a healthy, loved 19-year-old woman with Down syndrome, Grace Shara, which means that anyone can be murdered medically in the US now. My friend, mindfulness expert Ora Nadrich, pointing out and me increasingly being persuaded that there may well be multiple dimensions alive currently on our planet, some more nefarious, it seems, than others. My friend Josh Stileman revealing in sequential, well-reasoned, well-sourced essays that our very thoughts may not be our own now, and that most of the culture and history that I thought was organic is probably manufactured. My friend Catherine Austin Fitts warning that the full spectrum control grid is closing up. She and I being almost alone in recognizing in February 2025 that a massive theft of all of our government data was underway via Doge and other Silicon Valley entrants into engagement with the Trump administration, and also recognizing, sadly, almost 5 months later, that too late now, everyone sees that. And I show kids' workbook for Canadian medically assisted suicide. You can see it on the site. And the options are you excited, jealous, grateful? And you choose an emoji face based on that, a feeling face. And I also show an image of a euthanasia pod, which has been rolled out in the UK. The times remain upside down, even when it comes to the best of us. RFK Jr. is in charge of HHS. The mRNA injection is still being urged on pregnant women. He rolled out a long taxpayer-funded infomercial for wearables this past week, as I predicted would be the case when I warned that Casey and Kelly Means' business models in their hyperinflated tech companies are biometrics. Our noble friend, Dr. Jay Bhattacharya, is in charge of NIH now. He faced a walkout of bratty government workers when he gave a speech trying to point out that the events of 2020 to 2024 may have begun via a program that the NIH helped to fund. The news report of this event is as if narrated by Lewis Carroll in Behind the Looking Glass. Quote, dozens of staff at the U.S. National Institutes of Health, NIH, walked out of a recent town hall meeting after Director Dr. Jay Bhattacharya suggested the agency may have helped fund research that caused the COVID-19 pandemic. In a video obtained by CNN, Bhattacharya is shown telling staff that based on his review of scientific evidence and public opinion polling, he believed COVID may have started due to research funded in part by the NIH. Quote, it's possible, note the language, it's possible that the pandemic was caused by research conducted by human beings, end quote, Bhattacharya said. And it's also possible that the NIH partly sponsored that research. And if that's true, end quote, you heard all the caveats, all the qualifiers. It is possible. It is also possible. At that point, dozens of NIH employees walked out. Bhattacharya called the walkout, quote, silent dissent, and continued on with the meeting, end quote. These are scientists, and by now, anyone with an internet connection who has been paying attention knows that COVID-19 could have been, is likely to have been developed by research funded in part by NIH. But the scientists did not ask, is that possible? Is that true? They walked out. I guess what I'm trying to say is sometimes this river of horrors, lies, murder, and mendacity is just too much. Does it matter if I engage with it? Does it matter if I tell you about it? What changes? What saves us? How does anything that one person does help in a torrent of evil such as this? How do we survive this? How do we keep looking, keep processing, keep checking the plumb line for decency, keep reacting? Are processing, noting, objecting how decency is kept alive? Or are we kidding ourselves that this does anything? When will the gates of hell, or is it CERN, be closed again? Seriously. So yes, it became too much for me. This has happened 2 or 3 times since 2021. My physical health was breaking down. My awareness could not keep up with processing the stream of evil, of corruption, of human sacrifices. I came to California. I came to California. I am on a vacation with my family. Here for a week, of course, I wrote this in California. Here for a week, I have shut off my social media. Here for a week, I am not checking news or email. I'm in a wooden house on a wooded hill in Sonoma County. It is a less ramshackle version of the house in which I grew up, also on the side of a wooded hill in San Francisco. We spent a day on landing in the city, which is what all native San Franciscans call San Francisco, never, heaven forbid, Frisco. That is for newcomers or for tourists. This was after we picked up the rental car and before my mom's plane arrived. The Mission District is not so different than it was when I was a 17-year-old flaneur, that means someone who wanders around the boulevards, in 1979. sitting on the sloping grass on Dolores Park, wearing denim bell-bottoms and a cropped knit top with a rainbow decal and a jean jacket. My then straight hair, which reached my waist, was parted in the middle. I talked to my friends about Kerouac and the Beat Poets and music and high school gossip. The boys had shoulder-length hair then, also parted in the middle. They wore T-shirts with rock bands' logos on them, the Grateful Dead, Pink Floyd. In those days before devices, we sat in circles on the grass, gazing intently into one another's eyes while we spoke. Some of us, especially those of us who were high, would lie on the grass gazing at the white, fluffy clouds that passed, changing shapes on sunny blue days. On gray days, we'd marvel at the bank of fog that slowly rose up from behind the hills to blur and coddle the city's heights and sink into its valleys. I still embarrass my loved ones by lying down on grass in cities. I guess adults on the East Coast don't do that. I try to tell them how important it is to lie on the grass and watch the clouds pass, but my advice makes no sense now. The sky has changed, certainly out east. There are almost no gently moving natural clouds now, continually changing shape to watch traverse the heavens. Today's Mission District, though some physicality is intact, is spiritually and materially completely different from the scruffy, gritty, humble neighborhood of my youth. Now it is polished. Money has poured into it, as is true throughout the city. Artisanal bakeries written up in magazines for foodies dot the corners where hardware stores used to display mouse traps and fire and flashlights. Valencia Street boasts day spas and handmade soap stores. We bought at Tartine a sourdough loaf of what has been described as America's best bread, a morning bun of indescribable tenderness and flakiness, and a pain au chocolat. And we ate at a table outside in the gentle golden sun. Passers-by, male and female, were almost universally fit and cheery looking, wearing running clothes and escorting baby strollers or a variety of joyous dogs on leashes. In the park, as we lay on the grass, I looked with my heart hurting a bit because I had loved that city so much and because it was so changed in its essence and because I could never truly go back. At the beautiful Mission Dolores High School building, erected in 1927, a phantasmagoria of elaborate Baroque decor merged with clean stucco and Art Deco lines, a dreamy architectural style, California churrigueresque, referencing mid-18th century Spanish mission architecture that flourished for a moment in San Francisco and LA and then nowhere else that I have seen. And then I show an image of Mission Dolores High School. The young people at Dolores Park who were playing Frisbee with their dogs or napping or picnicking were well-dressed professional young men and women, mostly of Indian and Chinese descent. It was a bucolic scene. They seemed like nice young people, but the culture of my youth was gone. That history of radical democracy in the city, the poetic experimentation and longing, the thirst to find an American rhythm, an American soul, was now shaded, irrelevant, a relic of the distant past. The provincial, what will happen next, rebellious edge of the American continent, questing energy of San Francisco, that lust to touch the heartbeat of the American moment, which had endured for the 130 years since the days of the gold rush, through to the era of the Beats and of the hippies, and right up until I had tasted it myself as a teenager, so sweet, so wild, was gone. The vibe now was smooth and affluent and pulled together. Sleek ponytails, very expensive sneakers. Techies had moved in, and this was now a global and globalist city. We got in the car and got my mom and drove north. The suburbs subsided, as did the overbuilt valleys of Marin. They used to be fairy-like emerald green slopes down to blue pirate inlets, north to Corte Madera, north to Santa Rosa. The suburbs thinned. The grotesque development of Northern and Central California, the hideous sprawl, the parking lots and malls and storage facilities and big box stores defacing some of the most beautiful landscapes in the world cause me so much pain whenever I witness them that my loved ones know just when I will exclaim with dismay, "What happened? That wasn't there. Those were almond orchards." We had now passed Santa Rosa, the rows of townhouses, the new flimsy residential homes with their identical finishes, the Macy's and Target stores. At last, the foothills of Sonoma County emerged into view unobstructed. Soon, the landscape I remembered from my adolescence came into view. Thank God, I thought. I had not been in this area since the early 1980s. It is not all gone. I breathed a deep sigh of gratitude. At last, I saw the ramshackle wooden farm buildings I recognized from my youth, the vineyards and apple farms, the deep primeval forests. Believe it or not, it was another time. My high school boyfriend, Mark, now a marine biologist in Hawaii, and I used to take a Greyhound bus alone, carrying our rolled up sleeping bags and backpacks to these towns. I was 15 and he was 17. We would then hitchhike to camp in the forests. It is a miracle that we remained safe. Though surely the times and the area too had dark aspects, we did not see them. It seemed a peaceful utopia to us. Back to the land hippies, one golden meadow unfolding after another. Young people with guitars and with golden retrievers who wore red bandanas around their necks. Someone was always ready to share a ride or food or a beer, music or drugs. We were both pretty nerdy. We'd politely puff at a joint that might be passed, but decline anything harder. There were always cheap cafes in these little towns, coffee with cream in thick white mugs and rice and beans. There was always an affordable campsite somewhere and a carpet of soft pine needles. Unbelievably, both sets of our parents let us just take off and launch ourselves into this hippie paradise. Life was so easy. Everything was on low branches, glossy for the taking. The world was going to be revolutionized. Peace, love, freedom would surely be ours within a year or two. I used to think the whole world was like that surely meadows and redwoods and hippies and communes and people offering food and joints and music extended clear across America. I used to think that my whole life would forever be like that. LOL, as we say. "2025 again. We came to winding roads and climbed into the redwood forests. We passed place names that thrilled me with the vibration of memory. Kotati, Sebastopol. Past a white goat standing still in a field, heavily bearded. Past little shacks with statues of Buddhas out front. We climbed a steep drive. We found our vacation rental, a brown shingled 1970s house precariously overlooking a deep ravine, and parked. I got out and walked to the end of the street. A few cottages dotted a road that some pioneer had carved out of the ridge of a mountain. At the dead end, the mountain dropped right into a heart-stopping valley. There were redwoods above you, redwoods below, hawks and ravens overhead, the barking of a dog far away, a meltingly sweet sun descending nearly behind a peak, the scent of rosemary and sage, of golden and red nasturtiums, of purple oleander, which my mother had always warned us never to eat, quote, because it is poisonous, end quote. Why would we be eating flowers? I always wondered. I sat with my loved ones on the deck of the cottage. We were quiet, and the quiet was like the antechamber before God's throne. 2 hawks circled. One of the hawks broke away and spun in circles right above our heads 12 times. "Hi, Dad," I joked. Everything seemed archetypal. The sun came through the boughs of the redwoods like the strings of a harp. Then, asleep for 3 nights, each night deeper, and layers of fear and dread and anxiety shed off of me. You have to stay healthy and well at times like this. You know that I often have suffered from mobility issues, and now I don't. Part of my lifestyle is Native Path collagen. So Native Path's collagen formula is made with ingredients that are scientifically developed to increase bone mineral density, support tissue recovery, reduce wrinkles, enhance hair thickness, and strengthen nails. Who wouldn't want more collagen with all of these benefits? So right now, when you visit getnativepath.com/dailyclout, you can stock up on Native Path collagen for up to an incredible 45% off today, plus free shipping. Every order comes with a 365-day money-back guarantee. You can try it risk-free today. It is a single ingredient formula with no fillers, additives, or artificial sweeteners, and it's third-party tested for heavy metals, which makes sure that it is pure and safe. It's flavorless. You can add it to anything. I add it to my oatmeal. You can add it to coffee or smoothies. Its formula makes it more bioavailable, meaning it's absorbed more easily and mixes without clumping. And the best part is Native Path is offering amazing bundle deals, 3 or 6 packs at a fraction of the price of other brands. With over 4 million jars sold, 1 million happy customers, 8,000 5-star reviews, and a 365-day no-risk guarantee, Native Path is a trusted choice, and they offer an 800 number. You can ask any question. A real person is waiting to help. You can join a private Facebook community. I love these people. Share recipes, success stories. So that's getnativepath.com/dailyclout and start your experience of transformation today. My dreams were full of journeys I struggled to accomplish and of other people's toddlers left in my care whom I wanted to return to their parents. I was trying to keep a child not my own and a dog who was mine alive and afloat in a vast, warm pool in some sort of resort. I tried to hand a child to his parents through the window of an old green truck. In another scene, I was lured by a siren who tried to get me to leave my woodland path. Anxieties and duties arose in my sleep and peeled away from me and evaporated into the deep blue air, leaving me lighter when my eyes opened every morning. One day we drove to Sebastopol. I stopped in a secondhand bookstore. The old wood of the timbers smelled like the cedar of my grandmother's attic in Stockton. I did not even care that a book by a sad entity full of lies about me was displayed on the center table. That missive was from another life, another world, a worse world, where such things even registered. I could walk 2 doors down and look at vinyl, the Mamas and the Papas, Joan Baez. I could walk next door and flip through the vintage clothing that is so different in Northern California than anywhere else. I could imagine buying an embroidered Mexican peasant blouse or an Indian batik vest or a tunic in a Japanese indigo shade made with the shibori method, in which patterns are set in dye via folding and clamping. I could wear frankincense oil. The costumey options that beckoned would never work in Brooklyn, in my life back east, or on the videos I make as my day job in real life, or in upstate New York or Massachusetts, where we spend time. People dress like grown-ups there. But here, I could be back in what is really real for me, in a land of make-believe, where children and adults, even older people, even old people, don the clothing of miners or of troubadours or of fortune tellers. Why not? Who cares? I missed that playfulness so deeply. I felt that for 46 years, since the day I left my real home, I had been in costume, the costume of adulthood, of seriousness. I let emails pile up. I ignored texts. Yes, California is a mess politically. Yes, Not far beneath the idyllic surface, there is homelessness and drug addiction, corruption and lunatic belief systems, but also California, my California, that golden land north of the city, settled by waves of dreamers, those valleys of crazy abundance of red, black cherries and baskets of prickly lychee nuts, glassy inside and bursting with sugar, and bottles of wine in the most modest of supermarkets, ranging from garnet to ruby to orange and peach and stone fruit, yellow, white, that bosom of Gaia, always refreshed and new, the cactus blossoms and the squash blossoms and the tourist sign in Monte Rio by the Russian River, probably from the 1930s, that hangs over the street and reads, "We await your return, endures." True, deep California somehow had transcended the stupidness of the day. I was home, home, home. Today, for the second time, we went to the river. I had seen a beloved cousin for lunch and hugged her tightly. She and her mom had not ever cut us off during COVID, unlike some other relatives of ours. They had not judged us or condescended to us or rejected us. I don't even know if my cousin and her mom agreed or disagreed with our views. It did not matter. We were family. That reconnection, that real hug was healing. Now, my loved ones and I were resting on a local beach, a crescent of warm sand along the Russian River. The river was named for an early 19th century settlement at nearby Fort Ross. Amazingly, and forgotten to conventional histories, Russia had colonized California down to this southernmost point from 1812 to 1841. There are Slavic crosses in the local cemetery. There were inner tubes that you could rent for $10. Kids lounged in their black tubes on the Green River. Dads carried toddlers on their shoulders into the gently flowing water. Moms spoke to their small children merrily all around us. "Yes, honey, it is melting. Ice cream melts, just lick it." Or jesting to a child wandering away carrying a package of Pringles, "Are you going to find a family that has better chips than ours?" Lying on the sand, I felt the solidity of the earth supporting me, absorbing the silt and bitterness and mess of my grief and of my nearly 5 years of ever escalating mourning. I felt the sun as a blanket over me, the sun that is nowhere else as it is here, a coverlet of steady earthly love. I let it all go. Eventually, I made my way to the water. A loved one's borrowed tevas protected my feet from the little round stones. I waded into the water. It was icy, then bracing, then numbing, then warm. It reached my hips and my ribs and then my clavicle, and I kicked off and swam. I swam to the middle of the river. The water was warm to 3 or 4 feet down, and then the chill, clear current prevailed. Around me were canoes and kayaks. I swam further into the heart of the river, and I was alone. A bridge was above us all, far away. A row of multi-hued ducks, used to humans and ignoring us, swam past me. A tangle of roots and trees were on the far side. My loved ones were distant now, on the opposite shore. I let the water hold me up. The river would sustain me. She, it was a feminine force for sure, would carry me. I was in no danger. I was held for a while by the earth herself and her waters, woman to woman. "You finished a huge part of your job," was what I understood. "It's okay. You can rest," was what I understood. "You can rest for a while," she said. That's it. That's the essay. Lots of comments. I will go ahead and read some of them. Steve Ladner says, if people want to survive, they're going to need to stop listening to and depending on the government, for sure. For sure. And Alicia Autry Simon says, thank you, Naomi. May God bless you and keep you safe. Thank you, Alicia Autry Simon. You too. Lily Chen says something I can't verify, so I'm not going to repost it. Spencer Robinson says, miss you on Bannon. Let him know. I miss you guys too. I love being on Bannon. George Cruz loves the color on my walls. Thank you. It was this way when Brian bought it. But I appreciate that. Of course, I'm traveling, so I don't have a studio, but thank you for meeting me anywhere and everywhere. I'm so grateful to you for that. El Maldonado, hi El, love this. I felt the same about the world being a beautiful garden, and it is. Evil has tried to hijack our beautiful life. We mustn't give up. So thankful for you and your warrior spirit, Naomi. Thank you. And George Cruz says, Naomi Wolf, I value your input on what is going on in our world. Well, you guys, that's so nice. And it helps me with reentry because I'm back on the East Coast. Beautiful essay, says Charlotte Day Reese. Thank you, Charlotte. And, we're not quite done, right? And, is reading my book, Promiscuity, Secret Struggle for Womanhood. That's what I think you're referring to. That's wonderful. That's a book I wrote, which has influences from this time for sure, because it was about my adolescence, and it's about female adolescence in general, coming of age. So yeah, I do love that book. And thank you for reading it. Thank you for reading all my work, all of you out there that you read. And thank you for following this journey, wherever I manifest it with you and for you. And I should probably wrap up now. You've been with me almost half an hour. I'm super grateful. That's it. That's my essay. I just think it's so important in times like this to just give you a beautiful essay once in a while, as beautiful as I can make it. And for sure, I needed to reconnect with everything in this world that's not, of deepest, darkest evil. And thank God there's still places in the world that are, the life force of Earth, which is, I guess, the same as the life force of heaven. That's my guess. And reflection time is becoming more important. I also totally agree with that. And also time off the devices, off the social media, as empowering as these are, and I couldn't talk to you without them. I think it's also so important to protect our minds and our souls and our brain waves from the kind of nightmarish, emotionally stressful interruptions, constant interruptions, especially of X-style social media, that is like the opposite of the prayer vibe or the creativity vibe. These are real things. Our brains need different brain waves to be creative, or to be in prayer, or to be in meditation. And literally social media makes it impossible to switch into that kind of meditative state. I'll have to look up whether it's beta or theta. I don't remember, but the state that you need to be in order to create, in order to pray, maybe even in order to love and connect. So important. But look, guys, the good news, I want to leave you with some good news, because I'm usually Debbie Downer. And Betsy Dooner says, it's real to be the light in the darkness. I'm going to leave you with some really uplifting thoughts if I can. I have noticed, I wrote an essay about 2 years ago on Substack. You can find it. I think it's something called Bored Lovers, Expressionless Babies. I was noticing that right after everyone got the mRNA injection, or so many people did, that people stopped hugging or touching, like vaccinated people stopped really hugging very much or touching. And it really worried me. Like, I didn't see lovers, making out anymore on beautiful summer nights. I mean, not that I'm a voyeur, but just, that's a nice thing to see. Young people in love, holding hands, cuddling, whatever. And even when I hugged vaccinated people, I couldn't feel that heart energy anymore. And we've talked about this a lot. A lot of body workers have confirmed that they too feel that the energies, especially heart energies from their clients who are vaccinated, are interrupted, have been interrupted. And it makes sense if they're, for instance, if they're adjuvants in the injections, which we know there are, like lipid nanoparticles, which traverse every membrane in the human body, they're traversing the heart, like physically. And more and more research shows that the heart manifests an electromagnetic field, right? We are, as other people have pointed out, electromagnetic beings. This is not even a woo-woo California thing. It's just true. That's why things like MRIs work and, so on. So, and Healthy Marie says, we have a Russian river in Alaska, so much beauty all around the world, praying you and thankful for your words. Thank you, Healthy Marie 48. Same to you. So just to wrap up that thought, if, lipid nanoparticles are disrupting the heart and its electrical impulses, which Dr. McCullough actually explained to me was the case, it makes sense that it would be interrupting the kind of electromagnetism from the heart, which is what you get when you hug someone you love, right? I mean, that's why we talk about magnetism. That's why some people, you hug them and you just feel repelled, whether they've done anything to you or not. It's almost like magnets going like this. And where I'm going with this is I was so sad because I saw for several years people on their devices, not talking to their babies, not caring about their babies. That was one definite side effect I saw from the vaccination. People would lost that instinct. I saw this in airports a lot. They didn't know where their babies were, or their toddlers, not their babies, their toddlers would kind of be following behind them, racing to catch up through crowds. And I would be like, your child could get abducted, and people just didn't seem to have that radar anymore of where's my baby, where's my toddler. And they were very happy to just give babies devices and toddlers devices and just not interact with them. And I was very worried that babies and toddlers were losing the ability to bond and losing eye contact, not making eye contact, not knowing how to create human expressions. I mean, it was horrible. So apropos of all of that, it's not over. I still see that, especially on the East Coast. But interestingly, in San Francisco, where all the techies live who are making our apps and devices, almost none of the young people I saw were on their phones. Isn't that interesting? Almost no one who looked like they were in the tech ecosystem was using their phone for entertainment. Literally, they were not looking at their phones. So I'm just telling you that because I think it means they know something about how damaging these devices are to our brainwaves and our consciousness and our intelligence. And it's like a social norm. I definitely noticed it. No one's walking around like this in the techie, subculture of San Francisco. And the other thing is I am noticing young people touching more, and moms and dads looking at their babies more and talking to their babies more and gazing at their toddlers more. Maybe word has gotten out about how destructive those devices are. That doesn't explain the hugging. Or maybe God is not mocked, and the worst thing these monsters could think to do to us, and it's not over yet, but the mRNA injections and that massacre, certainly in my view, the worst thing they've succeeded at to date in human history, is not as powerful as the healing that our bodies are capable of, being made in the image of God. I don't know. It's a question. I don't know. I have no idea. But I felt very, very inspired to see that people are hugging. And even when I hug my vaccinated friends and loved ones, it's not the roaring blaze that it was before they got injected, that you could practically warm yourself with some people like at a hearth, right? And that's been turned down, but it's not nothing, right? I feel it like embers rekindling. I do. I feel it. So I'm really happy about that because that means it's possible. That means it's possible. And I've become persuaded with, the mentorship of Dr. Ely, who heals me from everything that's physically wrong with me to date in my adult life, that our bodies are capable of absolutely miraculous healing. So on that happy note, and maybe the earth is too, right? But maybe what starts with the healing starts with our minds orienting away from being enslaved to evil and darkness and orienting toward the light. And then maybe healing follows from that, or the knowledge of how to heal follows from that. I don't know. I'm just on this journey with you, but I'm guessing that there's hope there. All righty. Thank you for coming with me. I'm going to sign off. You can find me on Outspoken on Substack. Please subscribe. It takes a team to get these out, get them to you. Please support our sponsors. That's how I'm working on the hug thing. Good for you, Betsy. That's how we stay on the air. So when you order from our sponsors, you're helping us. All this content is free. There's no paywall, but there are costs. So we do need your help. And then over on Daily Clout, if you subscribe there, it helps us so much. Or if you donate, there's a Ko-fi button you can donate. And there's a beautiful, beautiful, beautiful new tool called Legisector. If you go to legisector.com, you can play with it. You can try it out. It's a stream of live legislation by sector, and you can tailor it state or federal. So if you're an accountant, you can stay current with what's going on with laws affecting your clients. If you're in the advocacy world, you can stay current with reproductive rights or pro-life issues or environmental issues. If you're in the energy sector, there's a stream of bills about that. It's 27 industries, and you can choose one and just be absolutely current. You can invest with foresight because you know what's coming down the pike. If you're like me and you're getting to that age at which your body sometimes just hurts all the time, please listen. Don't reach for another painkiller until you learn about this turmeric hack for pain and inflammation. You've probably already heard that turmeric is being used to fight inflammation and joint pain, but not all turmeric is created equal. Regular turmeric powder in your pantry will help you a little, but a leading pain doctor from Connecticut discovered a special turmeric extract that is 200 times more powerful than what you find in standard turmeric. And when he shared this turmeric secret with his patients, the results were extraordinary. This turmeric extract attacks pain at the source, turning it off like a light switch, so that pain not only often goes away, but stays away. Dr. Josh, the brains behind it all, has spent 20 years helping hundreds of thousands of Americans finally break free from constant aches and stiffness, and his turmeric hack has been the backbone of their success. So don't engage, if you can avoid it, with expensive surgeries, pain injections, or inefficient over-the-counter medications with side effects. Greet pain-free living. It's incredible stuff. I started taking it regularly, and I really did notice a difference. Again, you can't just take any old turmeric. If you want to learn more about Dr. Josh's turmeric secret and the exact method for how to use it in your routine, go to goldenrevive.com/Daily Clout. The link is right below this video in the description. Click on it and start your journey toward a pain-free, healthier life. So it's an amazing tool for transparency, for empowering you. You don't need a lobbyist anymore. You can be your own professional organization. And also I really encourage you to do a 30-day free trial. And it's only like $11.99 a month. It's so affordable. It's much cheaper than our competitors, Bloomberg Government, or LexisNexis States, and it will change your life. Seriously. My next episode will be about top trending bills on Legisector. It'll blow your mind. All right, everyone. I love you so much. See you later. Bye-bye.